Someone asked their interviewer a question that ended all conversation.
Wait, she said what to the managing director? Oh, this is so good.
I am already proper mortified, and I haven't even heard the full story yet.
Inspired by the kind of story you'd find on Reddit, today's episode involves a job interview, one catastrophically misread social cue, and a question so awkward that the entire room fell into what I can only describe as a stunned silence. Welcome to English Through Stories. I'm Oliver.
I'm Jake, and honestly, as soon as Oliver told me what happened in this story, I had to sit down for a second. Like, I felt it in my chest.
I'm Sophie, and I am already proper mortified, and we haven't even started yet. Go on then, Oliver. Ruin us.
Right, so our story begins on a Tuesday morning. A young woman, let's call her Sophie, has landed herself a final round interview at a marketing agency in central London. She has prepared her answers, ironed her blazer, and arrived 7 minutes early. She is, by all accounts, doing everything right.
7 minutes early, that's dead good. That's the sweet spot. You're keen but not desperate. I respect that version of me.
Okay, but wait, she goes in, right? And there's a panel, like not just one interviewer, a whole panel of people.
Indeed, 3 interviewers: the hiring manager, the head of the creative team, and crucially, the company's managing director. A rather formal panel by anyone's standards. Now, Sophie had done her research. She knew their names, their job titles, their LinkedIn profiles. She was, as they say, socially aware, meaning she understood the room, she read the atmosphere, she knew this was a serious, professional setting.
Socially aware, yeah, I like that. It means you pick up on what's happening around you in a social situation, yes. Like you understand the vibe of the room and you act accordingly.
Exactly. And Sophie, interview Sophie, she was socially aware enough to know, be formal, be sharp, be impressive. Great plan.
The interview begins. Sophie answers the first 2 questions beautifully. Her responses are confident, her eye contact is excellent, and the panel is visibly engaged. She is, at this point, absolutely nailing it.
I can feel it. I can feel how well it's going. This is one of those lovely moments in a social situation where you've got good rapport with everyone in the room. Rapport, that's when there's a warm, comfortable connection between people. Like you're all just getting on brilliantly.
Yes, the rapport was flowing, everything was great, and then her phone buzzed. In her pocket.
She had, of course, set her phone to silent, but not, it turns out, completely silent. The faintest buzz, just enough to be noticed, and the managing director, a very composed woman in her 50s, glanced down at the table for just a fraction of a second.
Oh no, I don't like where this is going. Not even a little bit.
So here's the thing, and this is where our guy comes in. Her friend, let's call him Jake, had texted her right before she went in. And the text was, not interview appropriate.
Jake had sent a voice memo, not a text, a voice memo. And Sophie's phone, rather than displaying a silent notification, had, in a moment of profound technological betrayal, autoplayed the audio through the phone's speaker at a volume that was, let's say, audible.
What? No, you sent a voice memo.
I didn't know she was already in there. I thought she was still in the waiting room. I was trying to be encouraging. I said, like, you've got this, go smash it, you absolute legend. But I said it kind of loudly.
The panel heard your voice coming out of my pocket, in the middle of a formal interview, with the managing director. I am going to be sick.
Now, and this is the key moment, the moment that separates a merely embarrassing story from a legendary one. Sophie did not do what most people would do. She did not apologize, quickly silence the phone, and move on. Instead, in what she later described as a complete small-talk reflex, a kind of nervous, autopilot social response, she looked up at the panel and said,
I said, and I cannot explain this, I said. Sorry, that's just my friend. He gets a bit excited. And I want everyone to know I had zero control over my mouth at this point, I said. He's harmless, don't worry. Don't worry, to the managing director, like she was a nervous child.
Okay, but wait, that's not even the worst part. Tell them what happened next. Tell them the question.
Yes, the question, because the managing director, to her enormous credit, responded with a warm and gracious smile. She said, and I quote, Not to worry at all, it happens. A perfectly civilized response. The awkward moment was dissolving. The rapport, that warm connection Sophie had built, was still, just barely intact. And then Sophie opened her mouth again.
I was trying to be personable. Personable, it means friendly and easy to talk to in a social situation, the kind of person people enjoy being around. I was trying to come across as personable and warm and normal. That was the goal.
Instead, she goes, and I'm going to need everyone to really hear this, she goes. Do you get many personal calls during your workday? To the managing director. Out of absolute nowhere.
I don't know what happened. I think my brain short-circuited. I was trying to make small talk, small talk, that light, casual conversation you make in a social situation to break the ice and keep things comfortable. But it came out like I was conducting a survey on her personal life.
Today's English word is personable. It means friendly, warm, and easy to get along with in social situations. And Sophie was desperately trying to be personable. Desperately.
The managing director she just looked at Sophie, like completely still. And the other two interviewers looked at each other. And nobody said anything for what Sophie described as approximately 4,000 years.
It was the most excruciating silence of my entire life. And I want to say I want it on record that the question made absolutely no sense in context. None. I have no idea where it came from. My mouth just produced it independently of my brain.
The managing director eventually replied, very diplomatically, "Oh, not too many, no." And then moved briskly on to the next interview question, with the energy of someone professionally choosing to forget what had just happened.
Which is honestly like the most British thing I've ever heard. Just, right, moving on, we don't acknowledge the chaos, everyone pretend that was normal.
It is proper British, to be fair. The managing director had incredible composure. Composure, that's when you stay calm and in control in a difficult or uncomfortable social situation. She had it. I very much did not.
Sophie managed to compose herself, regain her composure, if you will, for the remainder of the interview. She answered every subsequent question professionally. She even recovered some of that early rapport with the hiring manager, who appeared to find the whole episode quietly amusing.
See, the hiring manager was on your side. You had an ally in that room. An ally, that's someone who's on your team, someone who supports you in a tough situation.
Having one ally in that room felt like finding a life raft in the middle of the ocean, honestly. I clung to every little smile he gave me.
As the interview concluded, Sophie shook hands with all three panelists, including the managing director, who maintained absolute composure throughout. Sophie thanked them sincerely, gathered her things, and walked out of the building into the cold London air.
And then she immediately called me, and I could hear her footsteps getting faster and faster on the pavement, and she just went, "Jake. Jake, I asked the managing director about her personal calls." And I was like, "What?"
I had to debrief. Debrief. That's when you go over what happened after an event, usually to understand it better or just to process the horror of it. I needed to debrief with someone immediately, or I was going to spontaneously combust on a public street.
The debrief, as described by both parties, lasted approximately 45 minutes and involved Sophie walking in circles around a pret-a-manger, while Jake tried very hard not to laugh.
I was not okay, I was a little bit laughing. But supportively, I was a supportive ally who was also laughing. Those two things can coexist.
They cannot coexist, Jake. A proper ally does not laugh during the debrief. That's a rule.
3 days passed. Sophie heard nothing. She had, by this point, fully convinced herself that the question about personal calls had single-handedly ended her professional career. She drafted approximately 6 different follow-up emails and sent none of them.
And then on day 4, she gets an email, and she texts me in all caps, "Just Jake," one word, "just Jake."
They offered me the job. The managing director, the woman whose personal telephone habits I had questioned in a formal professional setting, had apparently described me to the hiring manager as refreshingly candid. Candid means honest and direct, even when it's a bit unexpected. She meant it as a compliment, I think.
Refreshingly candid. I love that. Honestly, that's the most diplomatic way to describe asking your interviewer about their personal calls. She basically said, "Sophie, you were a disaster, but make it fashion."
I accepted the job, obviously. I have never been so simultaneously relieved and mortified in my life, and I made Jake promise on his life to never send a voice memo to anyone who might be in an interview, ever again.
Jake has, reportedly, sent 3 voice memos since making that promise. None of them to Sophie, to his credit.
I'm a work in progress. But hey, Sophie's employed. The managing director apparently thought she was charming. And I feel like this whole situation really shows that being personable sometimes means just being chaotically, accidentally, genuinely yourself.
I would not recommend it as a strategy, but here we are, and for what it's worth, I actually love that job now. The managing director brings me a biscuit every Tuesday. I think she respects the audacity.
And that is where we leave today's story, a reminder that social situations, even the most formal ones, are, at their core, just human beings trying to connect, sometimes badly, sometimes via unexpected audio from a pocket, but connecting nonetheless.
If that made you laugh or cringe, or both at the same time, drop us a like. It seriously means the world to us.
And follow us so you never miss another story like this one. New ones coming all the time, and they only get worse, I promise.
Subscribe to English Through Stories, new episodes every day, and every one of them is a genuine masterclass in what not to do.
See you on the next one.